I'm going to tell you two quick and I hope funny stories.
Oh, good.
And thank you, because playing Begin to Begin gave me one of my funny stories. I live in a little flat off the Edgware Road in Northwest 8, and we get called Little Venice, and we get called St John's Wood, and we get called Lisson Grove. We change with the wind, so we never know whether we're right or not. But it's a very lovely area, and I have lovely greens around just like here. And I have taken to adopting cats that are dying and that people don't want. And I just had to have 2 cats put to sleep, and I had 2 new ones. And one of them was very badly physically abused and is very, very shy, and one of them is dying of kidney disease and has been abandoned.
Oh.
And I am getting the ginger one, who's called Tantan, to get used to being cuddled in the morning. And he comes on the bed, and I can stroke him, he'll take 5 minutes. And there I was lying there this morning thinking, goodness, Barbara, I'm so blessed. I don't have to work today. I don't have to think about clients. I don't have to think about anything. I'm going to go and be with other people. How lovely. And I just lay there and I said, I'm going to give myself 5 more minutes. And as I said it, on the radio, on a classical radio, came Ella Fitzgerald singing Begin to Begin. I thought, Barbara, what a gift. And the cat, who is also getting rather fat now, is eating. As I was stroking him, he stretched up and he went, "Ow!" as if he agreed. So it is so fantastic the way that Barbara works. You just never know. And even after, I won't say how many years, a long time with Barbara, I'm still absolutely surprised when he does these wonderful things.
Wow.
Now, I think, from my personal perspective, that this centre is beautiful. And I was talking with Susie a little while ago, and it is that space up there now gives me hope for all of us. It is a space and a place that Barbara gives to refresh. And when I've been living with Barbara in India in 1959, 1960, and I came to London to do some studies before I took my exams to go to university. And just before we left, Barbara had me in the Mandalay Hall, and I used to sit at Barbara's left-hand side. And I was never allowed to sit anywhere else. I always had to sit right there, because he used to hit me on the head amongst them. And we were sitting there, and I wasn't weepy, but I was really, really emotionally moved. And there was a part of me that couldn't wait to go, and yet at the same time I really wanted to be there. My heart was just, oh, you know. And Barbara looked at me and he said, now, when you go to London, I want you to go to my group in London. And I thought, what's a Barbara group? I mean, my experience was just Barbara. So I came back and I was all by myself in London and trying to sort out school and get everything organised. And Money sent me a letter saying, Barbara said, have you been to the group yet? Whoops. So I found out about the group and I went. And it was in the room that they used to have off Kensington High Street, or Kensington Park. And there was a little tiny bathroom sink place. And then there was this beautiful, beautiful, the room was very beautiful. And it was like going into, for those of you who know about orders and Grand Masters, there's the Eastern Star, the Western Star, the Northern Star, and the Southern Star. And never the twain shall meet. And there was Delia, who was Delia, and everybody knows who Delia was. And there was Edmund Purdom, and everybody knows who he was. And there were Will and Mary Beckett, and everybody knows who they were. And then there was Molly and Douglas Eve. And it was like, there was no connection. And the first time I went upstairs after they'd had tea, and I said to Molly, Molly, could I be of assistance? Could I help? And she was so shocked, she dropped the cup in the sink, and she said, that's the first time in 3 years anybody's offered to help. Luckily the cup didn't break. And so I went to the group, and I got, I must say, more and more discomforted and frustrated, and I wasn't sure what was going on, and so I couldn't figure out why they didn't have a centre. I mean, all these people with all this power and energy and knowledge, and there was no proper centre. And so I thought, oh, well, I'll pull the fast one on them. And in those days, for those of you who don't know about England back in the late 50s and 60s, there used to be something called football pools, and you had to predict which game, which team would win and which team wouldn't win. And you would win something like £30,000, which in those days was a lot of money. So I decided I was going to be very clever and I was going to figure out how to do this, and so every week I sent in my shilling on my football pools. And so one day I was talking with Delia and I said, Delia, why isn't there a centre? Well, and she went on and explained various reasons. And I said, well, I'll tell you what I've done. I've signed up for the football pools, and we're going to win it. I know, because that's what Barbara wants. And so she said, I think, dear, it's a very lovely idea, but don't tell Charles Purdon. So I thought, well, that was interesting. The next meeting, of course, are you ready for this one? Up walks Charles Purdon to me and says, so tell me about you and what's going on. And he'd hardly said a word to me before. So I asked him the same question. Why is there no real centre? Why, you know, this is one of Barbara's centre points, surely. And so I explained to him what I was doing, and he harumphed and hurrahed, and for those of you who had the pleasure of knowing him, he harumphed and hurrahed a lot. And he said, may I give you a piece of advice, young man? And I said, piece of advice? Piece of advice, piece of advice. He was trying to be funny. He said, don't whatever you do, tell Delia. So it really sort of, and there were various people. There was a lovely lady called Mary the Hat, and there was Mary from Bradford, and there were also Barbara collects these wonderful people. There's a lot of you in this room today.
Still going on.
And so I was talking again with Will and Mary Beckett, and they invited me to tea, and Will and Mary Beckett were the most extraordinary, unbelievably beautiful people I'd ever met. And Mary was wonderful because she taught me how to card and weave. And I was sitting there, and when you had tea with Mary and Will, you had tea. It went on forever. And you had 3 sorts of cream and 5 sorts of scones and 7 sorts of sponge cake. And you had to eat everything. Barbara would want you to. And so we were sitting there and I told them my story. And they said, that's very interesting. And Will was an actuary, and apparently a very, very good one. And they both looked at me and they said, I don't think you should tell anybody else, dear. I'm not sure they'd understand. So then one day I'd been invited out to Molly and Douglas, and Molly became my surrogate adopted mother, and she was the most wonderful human being to me. And we were sitting there, and I did the same thing because I was curious. And I said, you know, I really think we should do something. And I said, what do you think about this? Is this being dishonest? And I trusted Douglas totally. And he said, no. He said, why not? It's an interesting idea. But he said, my wife and I think you shouldn't tell anybody about it. So at this point, I was at the point of giving up. And I felt very uncomfortable. I was the youngest person by a long shot. And I didn't mean a long shot, less than. And I decided I wasn't going to go. So I sent a letter to Barbara saying, I'm sorry, but do I really have to continue going to the group? Is this really something necessary? I didn't get a letter back. I got a telegram, and in the telegram it said, do you love me?
Yes, yes.
End of story.
Oh,